I'm Amil Niazi, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is TIFF in 12, Commotion's podcast where we take you inside the Toronto International Film Festival. Teri, you're back at it again, just like little workhorses. Get your passes, go and see movies. I like to start with this because it sounds like some of the advocacy that you've been doing, Teri, making the case for another screening of Tuner. It worked. Tell us about that, Teri.
We have the exclusive announcement. So the festival came out with an announcement of a few other movies that they've added screenings for. Hamnet, Epic, which is the Elvis Presley documentary concert film we talked about here, and one more that doesn't matter. And I texted a publicist and was like, what do you mean? Are they not going to do an added screening of Tuner? We need another screening of Tuner. I had a text exchange, and they gave us the exclusive announcement. Yes, there is going to be a confirmed third screening of Tuner. Dustin Hoffman, Leo Woodall, directed and written by Daniel Rohr, Saturday, September 13th.
Which means I can finally see it, by the way. Because they needed to add that screening so I could see it.
And it will officially be announced tomorrow morning. But we got the exclusive announcement. I have it in text.
Well, I'm looking at the text. It looks real. It looks legit. That's so great, Teri. And, you can hear about kind of your plea for why this movie was so great on another TIFF in 12 from earlier in this week. But do you want to just quickly tell us?
Sure. It's one of those movies. Tuner is about a piano tuner turned heist movie. It is Leo Woodall and Dustin Hoffman, and it is one of those movies that is really surprising. You have no idea where it's going. Mix of genres. It's really fast-paced. It has a real great forward motion to it. It's not sitting in itself at all. And I loved the experience of watching this with an audience where I felt like everybody was completely emotionally involved. It really is a movie that will make you laugh and is also incredibly touching. It's my discovery of this year's festival.
That's so nice, Teri. And thanks for breaking some news on this podcast. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about Canadian films. This is the Toronto International Film Festival. We've got to talk about the Canadian lineup this year. Teri, this is the first TIFF since the whole Elbows Up movement. People really want to consume Canadian stuff this year, whether it's bourbon or films. So are you seeing that kind of like patriotic drive in this year's lineup?
I mean, truth be told, Emil, it's hard to always gauge exactly what is going on in the public screenings when we have press and industry passes, because sometimes, so I don't know if I can speak to that, but what I can speak to is the Canadian lineup. And, the festival programmed, obviously, a real kind of nostalgia pack of, some historical Canadian iconic people and moments, from the opening night film, John Candy, I Like Me, to the Lilith Fair documentary, the Degrassi documentary. There's also a documentary about that legendary cast in the production of Godspell in the 70s that went on to penetrate every aspect of comedy, from Eugene Levy. I mean, it goes on.
Martin.
Yes.
Basically, like I Like Me, the John Candy movie, and the Godspell documentary are almost like sibling documentaries at the festival.
Oh, cool.
And so there's a real nostalgia feel. And we're also seeing I'm saying that there's a little bit of a Blackberry glow up going on in Canadian film, where we're understanding, I think, thanks to Matt, that we can make movies about historical events in Canada and make them sexy and make them fun and make them something that people are really entertained by. And I would say there's a movie called Little Lorraine that really embodies that spirit. It includes the debut performance by musician Jay Balvin, also Stephen Amell, Stephen McCaddy, and it's about a drug ring that happened in Cape Breton in the 80s.
Interesting. And Blackberry, you're talking about the film from Matt Johnson. Jay Baruchel's in it, and it's about obviously the piece of tech that changed the world, the Blackberry.
Yeah.
Okay, Rad, what about the range of the content that you're seeing? And that's like from the types of films, but also the perspectives that we're seeing in terms of that Canadian lineup.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I should say, speaking to your elbows up comment, I do feel like there's more Canadian films to this year than ever before, because I felt like a struggle with you and I to keep up with all of that, right? So I don't have that proper numbers of that. So there's that aspect of it. And in going further, there's more Indigenous films made in Canada featured at TIFF than ever before. and that's that's been announced. And I think that just goes to show like how much more Indigenous productions there are, because we have entities like the Indigenous Screen Office that's there and fighting and making sure these productions get their funding. And so we're seeing that reflected in this lineup. So you have, even just within the Indigenous, as far as Indigenous storytelling goes, there's such a huge range, because you have Zacharias Canuck, Canadian cinema legend. He's the guy that made Atanarjuat, which is largely considered like the greatest film that's ever been produced in this country. And of course, he's always turning the lens on Inuk culture, and he made yet another movie, this time set 4,000 years ago, borrowing from from oral storytelling traditions, where there's it's about arranged marriage customs going foul while there's a troll lurking nearby and vengeful spirits and stuff. And it's an epic from him. But then you also have these really small movies, like a lot of movies like Meadowlarks and Bloodlines, about like intimate family dramas where people are coping with or trying to repair their family units after being pulled apart by the 60s scoop. Sorry, were you gonna add something?
And also Nika and Madison, which Eva Thomas directed, and it is from a very acclaimed short film that she made. It's taken her a while to get it to feature, but in that time, she co-directed a movie called Aberdeen that Gail Marie starred in, that had a lot of acclaim at last year's festival. So to see Eva back with this movie called Nika and Madison, about two friends who have lost touch and they go on this journey after a terrible event. Yeah, and high recommend on Nika and Madison.
Okay, I just want to in terms of that range. So you have the Indigenous films, grappling with that history, but then you also have the lily whiteness of the Matt Johnson, Chandler Levac area. They're films that are Mile End Kicks and Nirvana the band, the movie, which is of course playing to the Annex crowd, and you have urban storytellers and black filmmaking like Sasha Lee Henry's Dinner with Friends, and so there's this incredible
range. A wide range.
Yeah, and Clement Virgo returns.
So, Teri, let's talk about a specific film that's getting a lot of buzz, and that's Blue Heron. Can you just very quickly tell us, what is that movie about? Blue
Heron is a story about a family dealing with one of their children who has behavioral challenges, mental health challenges, and getting help for anyone, including the people who are trying to help him, not just him, is nearly impossible. And this is set in Vancouver. It is an immigrant family, Polish immigrants, right?
No, Hungarian.
Hungarian, thank you for that correction. And it is beautifully told. It is semi-autobiographical by the filmmaker, and you really feel the tenderness and the emotion and the truth of the struggle and what happens in this movie. I was really struck by it. Rad turned me on to this movie. He was like, get to Blue Heron quickly. It's already won some awards at other film festivals, and I really hope people are seeing it at TIFF.
And Rad, why is it resonating? Why did you tell Teri she had to go see it?
Look, I don't just think that this is one of the best films, Canadian films at TIFF. I think this is one of the best movies of the year, period, Canadian or not. Okay, it is a really powerful film. Sophie Ramvari, really talented filmmaker who's processing her own memories from childhood, which in the ways that she's done in her short films previously. And so telling this story, she's revisiting her experience with this brother from that perspective, where she's revisiting joyful memories, really sensually recapturing them, but she's at a distance and is not. She's very outside of whatever is going on with him. And then years later, she's trying to process that stuff. And I think there's a very intelligent, rigorous way that she approaches it in terms of the layers. It actually reminded me of the movie After Sun. If you remember After Sun, that movie would tear you apart, dealing with very similar things, and this movie tore me apart just as well.
Okay, I want to move on to another film worth mentioning, and that's Modern Horror, directed by Nicole Bazawin. And its subject and co-writer is Andrea Werhun, whose Modern Horror is her memoir, and she also consulted on Honora with Sean Baker. Is that right? So, Rad, talk to us about why people should be paying attention to this film.
I mean, first of all, this is kind of a great full circle moment, right? Because last year, remember, we were so enthusiastic about Honora, and it was the big hit, and it goes on to win the Oscar. And we were also pointing out that, by the way, Andrea Werhun was the consultant on this movie.
We'd love to find a Canadian connection.
No, yes, exactly. And then from that consultation, Sean Baker comes around and executive produces Modern Horror. So there is that wonderful circularity to it. And, even talking to Andrea about this, if you think about this, it's like Sean Baker is this filmmaker who has been considered this ally for sex workers in his storytelling. And then this collaboration then opens the door to someone like Andrea, who's actually a sex worker, to tell their own stories. And if you see this documentary, it's not just Andrea. It's like she brings in the sex worker community documentary within this kind of hybrid documentary format that's very true to what she does in her book. It's very hilarious, it's very witty, it's very emotional, and it's very insightful in terms of challenging all the tropes that have been existed in cinema and the public imagination before that. I know you want to jump in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm jumping in just to say I think that jumping on and letting people know that this is a hybrid movie. As much as it is a documentary, Andrea plays multiple different characters in this, as well as her own conscience and her own inner voice. It's beautifully directed, and I think that they're playing with the form really, really exceptionally well, and it shows how long they've spent with this story to bring it to this point.
Okay, I want to quickly get a couple of your picks for the standouts so that we can also talk about what you're off to next. So just give me just the name of the movie. What's the standout Canadian film for you,
I mean, the one that really took me by surprise, only because I didn't hear much about it, was Dinner with Friends, which I mentioned earlier. I mean, it's surprising how it's just
the name.
Fine.
Teri.
What I said earlier, Little Lorraine and Nika and Madison.
Okay, great. So now 30 seconds each. Please tell us, where are you off to next, Rad?
Teri mentioned how they're adding screenings of Hamnet, and that's one of the most buzzed about movies on the festival scene. And I think people are crowning it possible People's Choice winner, possible Best Picture winner at the Oscars. So I'm going to go catch up with that right after this. I'm racing out of here.
Great. Teri?
I'm going to the Jodie Foster movie, A Private Life. Maybe checking out Easy's Waltz, not so sure. And I hear there's some trivia going on tonight with a certain Commotion team that I might join.
Okay, well, we will see. We did it. TIFF in 12. Teri Hart and Rad Simonpillai are covering TIFF for Commotion all week. We'll be back with another edition of TIFF in 12 tomorrow. I'm Amil Niazi in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. Thanks for listening.